I'll have some clam chowder followed by beefsteak on rye, pumpkin pie, whipped cream and coffee.
We all have to eat, and we all love to eat great food. So slide up to the table for KSQD's February edition of Edible on the Air, featuring our gastronomic gumshoe and managing editor of Edible Monterey Bay magazine. What's your name?
I'm Mark C. Anderson.
There you go. And me, your KSQD hostess, Christine Barrington. We have some seriously tasty terrain to cover, so let's tuck in. Mark, where would you like to start?
Hello, good taste buddy. Well, let's not bury the lead under a bunch of food. One episode is an appetizer. Now we're like building towards a meal. We're barreling towards a full buffet. Perhaps that we didn't get canceled by the FCC. So
Not yet. We have
a
not.
toast in order. Our taste test will be a toast as well.
I'm not a Monterey resident, but I was there this weekend. I was in the Whole
Yes.
Foods there at the Del Monte Center.
Oh.
And the beautiful Edible Monterey Bay magazine was there. And I said, look, there it is. And the guy said, yeah, only comes out once a quarter. You're going to have to wait till March for the new one. And I thought, okay, he's reading it.
Yes.
He wants it. He's longing for it. He's disappointed he doesn't get more. That's a good sign.
Yeah, maybe he's an analog kind of individual, doesn't know about our digital product, which, is flying out twice a week. And that's where we break a lot of news.
Yeah.
Not so deadline driven, often longer form stuff that we have in print. That's a great complement to the digital stuff where we're, breaking more news, looking at new restaurants, and some of the stuff that we'll talk about right now.
Sweet. Well, let's get to it.
Have you heard of Alley-Oop Jazz Alley Lounge?
I have not.
Okay. Right next to Kumba Jazz, for a long time was an adored local watering hole called the Poet and Patriot. It doesn't look like it used to was. It's very different now. And have you ever had something that you treasured and worked on so much that you wanted to keep it secret? That was Alley-Oop for its owner.
Okay.
Max Turrigliato worked for 3.5 years. A lot of time, a lot of treasure invested in this place. And he really protected anybody from looking at it as much as he could, including the soft opening. He wouldn't let me inside, except I beat him to our meeting. And I was there, so I took a little wander. But I honored his wish to not take photos because he wanted to retain the power of the reveal for visitors.
Oh, I see what you mean. They were working on something so special, they were keeping it secret.
Yeah.
So got it.
Which
I
does build up
understand
the
that.
hype. And
Of course,
then
absolutely.
the stakes are a little, higher. And I got to say, it delivered. It's got this beautiful baby grand piano, like everything, very exactingly curated. It's a 1952 Baldwin baby grand. The bar area is glimmering. He's got this real throwback aesthetic to it all that matches the cocktails and even the price points. It's pretty reasonably priced. There's a little performance corner. There's these fluted booths. And this is my favorite old school element of all of it. He's like, hey, take it easy on the phone. How about just put your phones away? Let's regain the feel of an old school speakeasy that he's kind of intending. It's a place that feels part 1933 Chicago, part 2026 New York, but still very Santa Cruz. And so that's a pretty neat feat to pull off. And so that opened to the public last Friday, a week ago today.
That's great. Alley-Oop.
Alley-Oop.
Just right where the Poet and the Patriot used to be.
Yes. And so really complimentary to what they're doing at Kumba Jazz. And the people, I talked to one of their board members, Joe Hyatt, and he's like, we just wanted to have a good relationship. We had never dreamed that it would dovetail so poetically, so to speak, with what we're doing, with their music, with their vibe, with their classy food. And then you can roll right over to Kumba and all their well-curated things. And then Max, it turns out, was a Kumba jazz camp kid as a youngster and as a musician himself.
That's amazing.
And as demonstrated by his Lincoln Continental vintage, the same one that Elvis drove out front, he's very specific about his taste. So,
sounds really fun.
yeah. So it's got style to spare. You ready to go over to CARMEL? I think we mentioned this last month, but I did get to taste test Hatch Southwest.
Yeah, let's talk about Hatch.
So family-run spot. It's in the barnyard. So I tried the Hatch chili street corn deviled eggs, the green chili cornbread fritter platter, which comes with a side saddle of candied bacon and honey butter. Both of those are great, and it's definitely a green chili New Mexico style inspired place, but they're really deploying it in really smart ways. And The vibe is great. The setting is gorgeous, like a lot of the familiar tones if you've ever hung out in Santa Fe or even Albuquerque. Those color schemes are very much present. A lot of original art paying homage to that. Then they've got their uncle's inherited boot from their great grandpa, which they had bronzed in like a family tradition. You would just think it's an amazing accent, but then it's got backstory like a lot of the stuff there. Clever cocktails. They really do like full voltage cocktails without having a liquor license. So that means they're really good at using agave wines that, don't rise to the ABV of liquor, and have crafted some really good stuff. I had a smoke-in revolver that was outstanding. I was nervous about their Hatch burger because they're like, we want to have one of the best burgers in town. This is in Carmel, so not part of Santa Cruz Burger Week, but this would be one to rank up there for burger lovers. It's got this like really viscous, flavorful green chili chutney on top of a completely 100% ground brisket burger, which I hadn't heard of before, but it turns out their chef collaborating owner has been thinking about it for years, and he wanted to do it, and I don't know how it works so well. I thought it would be dry or not nearly as unctuous. It had the nice char on the outside, a nice tenderness inside. It was like a relief and a joy to see that their signature item is as good as they hoped and as they hyped.
Wow. So if you have burger aspirations and you're not a purist, you get to try something really special. It sounds really terrific.
Well, here's one thing I will add, Christine, is that something that they've accomplished, and it's been pretty intense as a lot of pent-up demand and friends of theirs who've known about this delayed opening flow in there. They're doing something that I think is a goal for a lot of restaurateurs. They're making something that's familiar and comforting, unique with their own take. And I'm looking at you jalapeno poppers there. They get the biggest jalapenos. The biggest I've seen made into poppers. I'm talking like torpedoes. I'm showing her, about 7 inch.
It looks like it.
And big. You wouldn't think it would hold up, but the way they do it, the way they bread it, the way they stuff it with bacon and multiple cheeses, it's like, all right, a jalapeno popper is a jalapeno popper. Wait, maybe not. This one kind of transcended. And I'm like, all right, you guys found a little sweet spot there. And they're doing it while being family friendly, but also pretty spicy.
Sweet. That's Hatch at the Barnyard Center, Carmel. We nearly went to Hatch. I was doing my homework and I was looking at it. And I noticed as we were driving through Monterey, I saw this other restaurant named Nami, and it really jumped out at me because my training's in psychology, and NAMI is an acronym for an organization that helps people that I'm very familiar with. And I was like, wow, a restaurant named NAMI. Do you know about this?
Well, NAMI actually had that in my list of things to bring up. Mm-hmm. It has a Carmel sibling restaurant that's named Pangea that's super popular. And just like Whole Foods, it's a place where we distribute a ton of edible Monterey Bay magazines. So it tells you there's a certain kind of audience that's really interested in interesting food. NAMI was formerly Chibo, which it's again this super high traffic right next to the conference center spot. And Chibo was like, pretty standard fare Italian, but really good happy hour, kind of dark, a little dusty. And NAMI owners gave it a pretty, they really cleaned it up. And they're doing like a fusion, maybe please all crowds menu that'll be interesting to see how it fares. Right. Because they've got sushi, but then they've also got pizzas, and they've also got...
Got it. Okay. And that's a brand new opening.
It opened this month.
Great. And that was in the recent newsletter as well, right?
It was.
Okay. Very
Ton
good.
of photos, yeah.
Well, thank you for satisfying my curiosity there. So where are we going now?
One of my favorite openings to the uninitiated might seem a little underwhelming, but it's part of the invigoration of Pacific Grove. And I'm talking about the PG Meeting House, which was Juice and Java. So it's this community fixture. And they do a lot of open mics, and they do the trivia nights, and they have just solid smoothies and coffee. And one of their chronic open mic blues and rock performers, he's a recovering healthcare executive, and he realized he had to stay in Pacific Grove to take care of his mom while the past owner needed to leave to take care of his mom on the East Coast. Wow. Took it over, has rebuilt the place, has ramped up their programming, and now it's got different live music or karaoke or things happening every night.
So, Mark, what you're describing is in Pacific Grove. It's called the PG Meeting House. People can enjoy food, drinks, great performances. And that's part of a whole wonderful ecosystem of great things happening in Pacific Grove, right?
Well, yeah. Strengths are juices and coffee, like their former name, Juice and Java, but they have added a bar with adult beverages, like I think 16 different spirits, a couple beers, a couple wines. And that's a really great compliment to this awesome jazz nights or jazz brunch or their open mic, which they'll indulge like a kid living their dream of having this performance. But they've got some really consistent performers, including their owner himself. That fits together with Pop and Hiss being this incredible record store performance space cocktail lounge, and Hops and Fog being the last.
Wait. What was that called?
Pop and Hiss.
Pop and Hiss. So for people that love music, that's great. Pop and Hiss.
Yeah, the owner, Michaela, is a child of the Hollywood music industry, and she was a music teacher, but also worked in a bunch of different backup bands, and she gets the game. So she's got this hyper-curated record store, but then also this beautiful cocktail performance space in the back with a beer garden. That's relatively new. Hops and Fog is the first craft brewery in California's last dry town, which is, yes, Pacific Grove, originally a Methodist community. That place is pumping. Meeting House is going. And then the brand new Kimpton Mirador that we talked about last month with its big old beautiful restaurant, the Caledonian, which was popping when I stopped by. How was it? Did you go? You threatened to go.
I went. You got me so excited. And I'm like, I think we have hotel points. And we did. And so we were able to get a free night, because I couldn't do it otherwise, at the Kimpton. It was really beautiful, kind of a modern mission style. And the Caledonian, first of all,
Chef Aaron Rare,
the chef, incredible. The servers are all on fire. And it was such perfectly, deliciously made food.
What'd you get?
We started with a classic. I always like to see how people do a Caesar salad, right? Sounds really boring.
Love it.
But
no, I mean, the detail, it's attention to detail.
So great. It had little gems, Meyer lemon, and they had botarga. You want to explain what botarga is to our listener? Not everybody knows what it is, right? It's fish roe that's been dried, right?
Almost and you got to know how to handle it, or it could get overly and overwhelm everything. And then you're just botarga.com for the rest of the weekend.
Right. But they did it. It was so balanced and so beautiful. Nice big serving that we shared. And then we had the nudie. Now, not everybody knows what a nudie is. Do you know what a nudie is?
Well, I think I got in trouble for describing something as a gnocchi when they're like, nope, that's nudie.
A nudie.
Are we talking about the same thing?
Well, we might be. So nudie sounds as naughty. It sounds naughty. It means naked. And it's basically a dumpling. It's like the insides of a ravioli without the pasta wrapper, right?
Okay.
So the super, super light dumpling, right? So delicious and light as air, absolutely wonderful. And then we had the Scottish salmon, which was, classic preparation. Now, Caledonian, right, is Celtic for Scotland. And I was expecting like Scottish food, but I guess it was Scottish people that must have settled the area, and they named that park the Caledonian.
Yeah, Caledonia Park, a beautiful park where my old newspaper, where Squid worked, used to dominate the media tournament. So very Californian, right? It's Aaron Rayer knows what he's doing, so I'm glad you had a good time. I feel like you've been doing some good gastronomic gumshoery yourself.
I was trying to follow in your footsteps. We planned this little weekend, and I'm like, we're going to do our homework. We're going to go to the food lab, and we didn't eat breakfast, so we would be nice and hungry, and we drove up, and it was closed.
Okay.
And so we were like, oh, we're hungry. Now where do we go? And so I got on and I pulled up the edible newsletter, and I'm like, we'll go to the Marina Shopping Center, the little strip mall. We'll go to, is it EMV? Local EMV, the little deli.
Wow, the corner spot in Marina?
Yeah, we were super excited, and we drove there. And you talked about going to Grocery Outlet because you had this really great wine selection, and we were going to have lunch and then pick out a bottle of wine at Grocery Outlet and report on it. It was also closed.
EMV was closed.
It was closed.
Oh, my God.
They're only closed on Mondays. So then we're like starving. We're going into sugar
crash. Hyperglycemic situation.
So I'm, my hands are shaking, but I'm typing, and I'm like, Okay, I'm like, edible Monterey Bay delis. And we found...
Oh my gosh. Is it arms in the air for the listening audience?
Piccolo.
Piccolo.
Oh, it was so Piccolo,
you
right?
You guys are covering some ground.
We covered ground.
And it was a beautiful setting.
Oh, it's so beautiful, right? You want to tell our listeners this is a special place. I highly recommend.
Well, Coast Guard Pier, right there, San Carlos Beach. I think it's the top 2 most scuba dive spots in the world, or at least in the United States, or maybe West Coast. But incredible scuba diving, awesome, just breakwater that heads out that you can stroll along. And then there's 2 restaurants. Upstairs is Osteria del Mar, which is this really well done Italian joint with all kinds of harbor views. And then underneath it is its deli sister spot, Piccolo, which does authentic Italian, great selectivity with their bread,
they bake
imported
their own
meats,
bread,
and their owner's just super hospitable. Wow. Okay.
It
what
was
a great
fabulous.
place to land.
And
I go by Coast Guard Pier almost every week that I'm in town. Yeah.
It's peaceful because technically it's on Cannery Row. And so I thought, oh God, Cannery Row. Yeah. I like Cannery. I go there a lot, but it's a different thing. But this is off the beaten path. Yeah. And
you got to know it's there. It's not really a place you stumble across.
You would not stumble across it unless
you're pulling up in your yacht.
Mark C. Anderson recommended it in Edible Monterey Bay magazine. And the lunchroom is so beautiful, aesthetically absolutely lovely, and views of the boats and the ocean.
It almost feels like your own private harbor in some ways.
It's really incredible, folks. I recommend it. Take a little afternoon.
Well, I really admire your assiduity in getting to you pulled through like the shakes and got them's the breaks. All right, nice work by you.
Mark, let's take a short break to first remind folks that they are listening to a cool community radio station called KSQD that broadcasts from Santa Cruz all the way south past Carmel Valley on 89.5, 89.7, and 90.7 FM. I'm Christine Barrington here in the studio with Mark C. Anderson, managing editor of Edible Monterey Bay magazine. We are going full foodie here on our new show, Edible on the Air, and we'll be back right after this short break.
Exploring the intersections of rhythmic music from New Orleans, Kingston, Jamaica, and Havana, Cuba. The Downbeat Shuffle program, Fridays at 6 p.m. on KSQD.
This is Austin Powers, baby. You're listening to the only radio station groovier than the BBC.
What? You mean K-Squid?
K-Squid.
K-Squid, isn't it?
K-Squid, KSQD Santa Cruz. Online anytime at ksqd.org.
Yeah, very.
Welcome back to Edible on the Air with Mark C. Anderson of Edible Monterey Bay Magazine and me, Christine Barrington, your KSQD hostess. Coming up next, we have a couple of special call-in guests. The first is Brad Briske, who is the chef of 2 very special places to make your mouth and belly smile. He leads the restaurant Home in Soquel and its sister restaurant right across the street from it called Home Away. Mark, thank you so much for bringing Brad into our studio here via technology. Well, where would you like to start?
Well, speaking of, I was thinking, if someone asked me if you get one chef to take on the space shuttle, who would you take? It would be Brad, not just because he's a good hang, but also because he would figure out ways to use everything we got on board in really flavorful ways. But he is a chef, assistant gardener, maybe head gardener, master sorcerer at perhaps my favorite restaurant in Greater Santa Cruz, Home. And I've been tracking his career since he was over at La Balena, helping teach me about farm to table's gotten a little overused, but maybe harvest to heart. So I'm hoping you can, just as a way of introduction, Brad, tell us a little bit how you went from being a hardcore vegan scholar and advocate to now a snout to tail mastermind.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mark and Christine, for having me. Man, I don't know if that's a short story, but I was a picky eater as a kid. I was this kind of self-made vegetarian. I don't know. Food for me has always been this, or as it became this discovery of like food as medicine style stuff, vegan cooking school, vegan restaurant, San Francisco. where I met my wife, and my knowledge started very limited. And just as I slowly grew over the years in the career, started introducing new things through experiences. You know, it was really the first time that I watched a pig get harvested just on the other side of the creek from the restaurant, the Everett farm. And I didn't eat it that day, but the chef I had been working for had like cured it, some salt, hung it in this cabinet. And it was like 6 weeks later, we were in the kitchen and he had like sliced some of this pancetta off, like just salted cured pork belly, and threw it on the grill. And he like looked at it, kind of watched it sizzle, and was like, yeah, you know, I watched that animal, like its last day. It came straight to the restaurant. No one's messed with it. No one's touched it. Like just us. And I tried it and my eyes lit up and it was like, oh my God, this is amazing, you know? And that was like the same time I had a really great mentor chef too. And that was like when Fergus Henderson and Chris Constantino, and it was like real whole animal. And he kind of dived right in and I just kind of followed along and I learned a lot through that time, you know? It had always been like important, the quality, the life that this animal had and respecting it. Like so much of my childhood was not eating meat, growing up in the Sierra foothills and all these like animals on the side of the road. It was like, I don't know, sad and kind of made me this weird little picky kid as an eater, but it's not like that today. So,
well, you roll into home now and maybe you come around the side and you have this just dramatic, flourishing garden, or drop into the aging space, like the wine cellar private party area. It is like a real homage to not just snout to tail, but beginning to end life cycles. When do you feel most alive in your work at home there with your family and your team?
Yeah, I love the restaurant. You know that expression, like if you love what you do, it never feels like a day of work. That is my life. I really like giving people the option, you know, like the choice to try something. I'm like a firm believer in that, like Chez Panisse, Alice Waters philosophy that like the food is only going to be as good as what it starts with. And like eating locally is maybe more important than some of the other catchphrases and big words to get thrown around these days. Like in restaurant industry stuff, you know, it's funny. There's like no inspection for any of that. Like I could write whatever I want on the piece of paper. But I think what does well for us is like people taste it, you know, and I think it's important to, for me, I like that we're allowed to have the opportunity to like extend that as a choice for other people to kind of try or experience. And I think that's what home has become, is home has become this experience and a different way of kind of doing things, you know. Like you've seen a lot of our specialty stuff is not necessarily like the Safeguard classics. It's a little more cheek and tongue. It's a little more adventurous. Like the title of our vegetable section is like, we don't have a produce company, you know. It's just like everything's kind of hand-picked, hand-selected based off of its freshness and its seasonality. And there's no reason why like the animal program, the seafood program can't be done exactly the same way, you know. So
in December, you debuted Home Away, around the corner from home in Soquel. And I feel like it's such a nice compliment to what you're doing at the mothership. I was hoping you could talk a little bit about how you conceived the idea and what you're really getting a kick out of as you're right there orchestrating it person to person, chef to guest, in a different kind of space and a different kind of experience.
Yeah, I mean, home is definitely like an experience. And so with Home Away, it's another way to be able to extend that same thought out philosophy about food as medicine, you know, and giving people like another option, a different way to try it. Home is the classic restaurant in the sense of it being this like big machine, and it is what it is. And I think it's very fair and honest. Home Away being a counter service concept picks up the pace. So it's not quite as long of an experience. It also changes the price point. So it's just another option for the community, you know, and it allows me to like buy more fish, buy more vegetables, support our food community even more, give that option out to like the family of Santa Cruz. Everyone that kind of comes gets to be a part of the family at home, you know. I mean, that's one of the great things about the restaurant. It feels like you're just having dinner at your friend's house or something like that, like just very casual, very hospitality focused. So Home Away is like, you know, it's a little newer. Home is a historic restaurant. The restaurant is actually a year older than I am. Most people don't know that. It started as Theo's. I worked there as a young chef before I had come down to CARMEL. I just had like a run-in with Walter and Sylvia Joris just stopped by this afternoon to kind of check in and see how things are going. You know, it's got a lot of history. Home Away had been Phil's. I spent a lot of time at Phil's when I was Main Street Garden, which is the restaurant I now have. Like, it's really just kind of been this whole big full circle thing embraced by the community. And it's the community that's kind of supported us and allowed us to continue growing and to continue to feed them and like become a part of their memories, you know, through all the different events. So it's just like the circle of life, you know, just kind of keeps on going.
And I imagine the passion with what you approach the craft resonates. I'm like, hospitality means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but when you see it, when you observe it, it's pretty clear. And one of the things I love about Home Away is that you're a consummate host, and it gives people that much more a direct line as you're shucking the oysters there. It's like a wine bar, but with a whole palette of different fresh food items that you're working with, and you're talking through it while you're still working. And what a cool interactive addition to SoCal in your own portfolio. And you can take a lot of the same products you're using and give them different expressions. And it's nice that when Home Away can just be that much more easygoing.
Yeah, Home Away for me is like 100% food bar. You know, it's like a place to stop in. It's not classic. It's still pretty tonguey and pretty squiddy, and you know, we use a little more soy sauce. It's like a younger building, so the vibe is a little bit younger. It's very reminiscent of my personal life,
totally,
with the surfboards and the tattoo art and the pig legs and the meat slicer. And you know, like, if there's a collector of meat slicers, you know, like, I'm the guy. I got more than one, you know, or more than it's very kind of on display. And that's the other thing I'd say real quick is, like, a lot of restaurants, my home being an old school restaurant, is still kind of in the days of things being kept behind. And I'm so proud of what we use and what we offer to people.
How it gets did.
That, like, putting it on display was always the idea, you know, like, no, we're going to show people this is what a 30-day, you know, fish looks like. Reading it on a piece of paper, like 30-day-old dry-aged rock cod, people are like, no way I'm eating that. But when you can put it in a glass door refrigerator, put it in front of them, and then you could tell them that, like, this is what we're doing, and they can see it, and they can smell it, and they can watch you cut it to order, and they're like, holy smokes, okay, now I start to get it. You know, so it's educational too. It's a lot of fun too. I mean, it really has helped us, like, I don't know how many young people's lives I've touched over the years, but from our front of the house to the cooks that come through the kitchen. And that's just how we continue to kind of grow our community through food.
Well, this is another reason to have you on the space shuttle, is because you can show intelligent life elsewhere in the universe that we're making progress. We're learning where our food comes from. We're learning to use the whole vegetable, the whole animal, and we're learning how to show interested eaters how the process works so it can be that much more fun and enjoyable. And also, you and me could talk for several hours, which is good when you're floating around space. But we gotta eject. We gotta go on a spacewalk. But can't wait to get by Home Away soon. Thanks so much for checking in with us.
I will tell you, I have tried doing one freeze-dried lasagna.
That's incredible.
I was getting ready.
Porchetta dust?
I had a freeze dryer for a minute. We tried freeze-drying the whole lasagna and see if I could get that thing on Elon's spaceship up there, you know, for the organic grass-fed beef program, part of that program.
Holy F balls. That can be,
How did it go?
You have to wait. You have to try it for yourself to see what, you know, how it turned out. But it's still ready to go.
Brad Briske,
thank you
chef
both
to
so
the stars.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us.
All right. Have a great day. Bye.
And now, coming up right on the heels of Brad Briske, chef of the restaurants Home and Home Away in SoCal, we have another guest calling in whose specialty is in the beverage department, Sayre Piotrowski, Executive Director of the Bay Area Brewers Guild. Here we are with Mark C. Anderson. Thank you so much for calling in and joining us on the show. My name's Christine. Nice to meet you.
Very nice to meet you, Christine. Thank you for having me.
Rock on. Well, I'm going to let Mark introduce you and interview you, and I'm going to enjoy listening. Unless I have a burning question, in which case I'll raise my hand.
Yeah, there we go. Well, yeah, I predict she'll have a question or two. But
okay.
Thanks for hitting us up, Sayre Piotrowski, Executive Director of the nonprofit Bay Area Brewers Guild. And I would add, an advanced Cicerone. You know, that's the beer sibling of a sommelier, who has Real Talk opened as a rhyme sayer for lightly legendary Bronx rapper Fat Joe. As Sayre notes in his well-crafted Substack, which I would encourage people to check out. It's called Beer and Soul. But first, let's talk Bay Area's Brewers Guild, which is right now orchestrating SF Beer Week. So happy SF Beer Week and happy birthday week to you, Sarah.
Thank you. That's true. Yeah, I celebrated my birthday with 48 of our member breweries at Salesforce Park on Saturday. Turned 45 on Saturday. But yeah, the Bay Area Brewers Guild began very modestly a couple of decades ago in San Francisco with a handful of brew pubs. And today we represent 71 breweries from Monterey to Windsor. When someone asks me, what is the Bay Area Brewers Guild, the easiest thing that I can usually tell them is we're the organization behind SF Beer Week, because Beer Week has become such a monstrosity that even folks for whom beer is not a huge part of their lives tend to know what I mean then. We do work year-round to make the public more beer savvy and to advocate on behalf of small breweries in the Bay Area. But our big public activity and monstrosity is this thing that's taking place that started last Friday night and is going to continue until Sunday. And that we call that SF Beer Week, even though there's events from, as I say, Monterey to Windsor.
Yeah, Windsor pretty far north, and there's a lot of strong representatives right here in Santa Cruz where we are, but also over in Monterey. I liked how you organized the opening event for SF Beer Week on like the rooftop Salesforce Park, which is an incredible setting where if you were to walk around it, it's like a mile plus loop or something. Am I getting that right? Anyway, there was enough breweries where you had like the East Bay contingent on one end, and then you had like more San Francisco in the center, and then you had, I forget how you stylized it, but like the North Santa Cruz, and bias admitted, you say Bay Area Brewers Guild, but Monterey Bay, first state Congress, first library, first newspaper, first theater. We're the original Bay Area, but we don't have to like split hairs there. It's beautiful. It's beautiful that we were repping hard, and it's a nice reminder of just how much like craft beer territory you cover.
Yeah, we certainly do. That was a change maybe 9 years ago. I think 2017-ish, it expanded to the entirety of the Bay Area. There's positives and negatives for that. I find that it's actually more reflective of the way people drink beer. People are provincial with their beer, but they're not that provincial, right? Like you won't find people in Sonoma County that are like, I'm never drinking in Alvarado Street, and people in Monterey or in Santa Cruz aren't going to say, I'm never drinking Russian River. But beer does very much come to define a region in that way. And so one of the negatives is like my counterpart who runs the San Diego Brewers Guild, they're essentially an arm of Visit San Diego, right? Like, so they align very well with the local tourism board, whereas I don't think it's reasonable for me to expect a beer tourist to visit Alvarado Street, Humboldt, Moonlight, Russian River, but we will have events in specific parts of the region that are only for the breweries in those regions. So we have a very geographically broad and very eclectic membership for sure.
You hit on a couple key elements there, that Northern California has some truly exemplary breweries, but doesn't have the rep that San Diego or Portland or even
Denver.
Denver. So I think that's worth flagging, as is the fact that SF Beer Week goes through March 1st. It's pretty easy to search events, whether you're in Monterey or Santa Cruz or even Watsonville, because Fruition was out there representing.
Fruition has a very exciting event on Saturday with a cheesemaker who feeds her sheep on the spent grain of their beer and then makes cheese with that milk. And then she even has a cheese that's washed in Fruition Porter. And then on Saturday, they'll be pairing those cheeses with the beers at Fruition.
Oh, I love
so
it.
It's very much like an old world, slow food thing that they got going on.
Yeah,
and where is this event taking place exactly?
That's Meet Your Makers at Fruition in Watsonville on Saturday.
And
if folks want to see a whole list of events like that, sfbeerweek.org. When you arrive there, it'll prompt you to look at today's events. And then there's a toggle where you can set your region. Everything we're referring to right now would be the coast region. So if you set it to the coast region, it'll show you the events for each day remaining in SF Beer Week.
Oh, yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Sarah. So the point you made on your Substack, which really resonated with me and put like a novel perspective on a really important point, especially when it comes to craft beer. Basically, you were saying, imagine if the Monterey Bay area had two of the top 8 restaurants in the entire country. Imagine how much media just breathless,
right?
It so happens that we have two of the best craft breweries in the country. Not to mention Ghost Town up in Oakland, which was named the best in the country of its own right. But I'm talking about Alvarado Street, based in Monterey and Salinas, and Humble Sea, based right here in Westside Santa Cruz.
They're rated the top 2 beers in the nation.
They're on the top 8.
So what Mark's referring to is two different things. The Ghost Town accolades were Great American Beer Festival and World Beer Cup in essentially consecutive years. Ghost Town dominated, and those are the two largest, most widely recognized beer competitions in the world. And then the list that Mark's quoting is from Craft Beer and Brewing, which is certainly the most well-vetted, most informed readership. Most people who read that magazine work in the industry. They do a best of every year. And this year they did the top 20 small breweries in the nation. Alvarado Street was 4, Humble Sea was 8. So yes, within a very, very short drive from where you two sit, 2 of the 10 top breweries in their size. And small brewery is the size that most great breweries are, right? There is a category for like very small that would be like your slide beer across my own bar operations. And we have plenty of our membership in there too. And then there's the next size up would be like your regional players. So in that size that most of the breweries we're really excited about in the country actually are, both Alvarado Street and Humble Sea were in the top 10. We should also mention in that craft beer roundup, Santa Adarius, also out of Santa Cruz, got recognition for being, I think, the second best Saison brewery. I think it was in the world. And so, that's a very informed readership making those determinations. And I think Mark's right to point out, to point out that I pointed out, that were that the case with restaurants, that would be such a regional pride story. Yeah. And everyone would be writing about it and bragging about it, even if they didn't go to those restaurants. And what's so cool about breweries is that a much larger swath of the local population gets to patronize them, right? Like if those were 2 of the 10 best restaurants in the country, can't afford it.
Right.
There's a lot to be said for a great restaurant and the kind of community it brings, but it's not like the kind of gathering you're going to get at a brew pub. And spaces like those ones that we just mentioned around Santa Cruz and the greater Monterey Bay area. So I would encourage people to check out even more detail that Sarah brings there. Yeah, and make the most of the upcoming few days of SF Beer Week, because there are some really like cool collaborations, but like tastings and like educational stuff that happens to come with some really flavorful craft beer along the way.
Absolutely. It's whatever you're into, right? So if you want to super geek out and go talk to a cheesemaker and a brewer about all the microorganisms that make those things go so well together, that's available to you in Watsonville. I believe it's Friday night that at the Alvarado Street in Salinas, they're hosting Monterey Bay FC's football club. And that's just more of a hang.
Great venue too.
Yeah. And
so this show will air Friday. So if people want to buzz over to Salinas, they can enjoy that great event.
Well, listen on the maybe you're listening on the way.
That's absolutely. And
exactly.
And so if people just are major beer fans and maybe didn't know about this, they can probably sign up for a newsletter with SF Beer Week and get notified. Right?
Yeah, our newsletter is called The Brew Deck. If you go to any of our social media, it'll link you to it. We're at SF Beer Week. We're at Drink Bay Beer. The Guild website is drinkbay.beer. The SF Beer Week site and social media really only function for the quarter of the year when we're doing SF Beer Week. But Drink Bay Beer is year round. And yeah, the Brew Deck every week. Try to mix in some education with what's going on in your local scene beer wise. And we send that to about 20,000 people every week.
Beautiful. And if people want to wax philosophical, they can sign up for your Substack, which is called Beer and
the
Soul.
Substack. You're gonna have to put up with a lot of my music opinions and
the Case Good listeners are here for that.
They are here for that for sure.
The opinions on the Substack are in no way reflective of the opinions of the Bay Area Brewers Guild.
All right. Well, this has been great. Happy Beer Week. Happy birthday. Thanks for flowing the wisdom and the fun.
Absolutely.
You so much.
Mark, thank you for having me. Christine, pleasure to meet you.
Wonderful. Take care. Okay, Mark, so what goes well with all that great beer you and Sayer were getting us all hopped up about?
Okay, question for you. How much pizza is too much pizza?
Oh, man. In theory, according to what I like to eat, never too much pizza. What my body can handle, sometimes too much pizza.
I almost feel guilty that when I saw that Pogo Nip Pizza was making waves, so to speak, in Upper West Side, it's about a month into its soft opening, was like, wait, this is like a lot of pizza places at this point, and a lot of good ones too. It's like, it makes me proud of Santa Cruz for things, much like its craft beer scene, but like, hopefully it's not getting too dilute or, overcrowded. But Pogonip Pizza from Chef Ryan Thompson delivers with its own identity, which it turns out is very much Santa Cruz. They got Lost Boys art inside the pizza boxes on the wall. They've also got mountain bikes on the wall. They've got
very Santa Cruz.
They've got shock absorber like beer tap handles and really good creative pizzas named after mountain bike trails. The Barking Dogs, for example, with those great little they're called cup and char pepperoni, but then also pickles and something called ranch dust, which is already proven to be a bestseller. They got something called Magic Carpet, another local mountain biking trail that's got jalapeno, stracciatella, I'm probably saying that wrong, which is a fresh Italian cheesy at the end. Really fun and flavorful combinations. And talking about bikes has me thinking about something spontaneous that happened to me a week ago. Last Friday, just heading from Maine, Kitchen and Cocktails. I'm not going to say it's the best.
Oh, wait, I'm going to press the pause button because it sounds like you're going to another establishment. Where exactly? If somebody's listening and they're like, oh, Pogonip Pizza, where is it?
I was ready to roll.
Okay.
Pogonip is Upper West Side. So it's huge for the Banana Slug crew because they don't even have to come down the hill. It's right by Westlake Elementary School.
Okay.
I've had one of the residents that turned me on to it was like, we got a little bit of a food desert here. So they're stoked that it's very family friendly and very fun. And they're building out their hours. They're adding lunch. They're adding slice service. All that's happening in real time. All right, you ready to roll?
I am
because
ready
I got
to
a bike
roll.
story.
Okay.
So Maine Kitchen and Cocktails. I'm not going to say it's the best margarita I've ever had. That's probably, mathematically impossible to calculate. But their co-owner and bartender does a passion fish. That's a restaurant.
Margarita.
Passion fruit. That's a great seafood restaurant in PG. Passion fruit margarita that is so balanced and so zingy, but you taste the tequila that she picks very specifically and just the right amount. My friend and I, who's a hardcore bike rider, we're leaving and thinking about heading to Seabright because Murray Street Bridge is back open for bikers and pedestrians, which is huge for that community because that was really choking off a lot of the foot traffic, the bike traffic, the car traffic for a lot of great businesses down there. And we got swept up into a Santa Cruz bike party the second Friday of each month. So I guess that was 2 weeks ago. And all of a sudden, two of us are rolling deep. There had to be 140 bikers.
Wow.
And I felt a little under-equipped because at least a handful of them had like woofers on little trailers behind their bikes. And they're repping all kinds of colorful gear. And if you look at ediblemonterey.com, I posted the map that they took. It weaves from Beach Flats all the way through Midtown and then cuts across Murray Street Bridge and into Live Oak and then swings back around to Seabright and ultimately ends up on the wharf. It's a fun hang. We stopped in Seabright because I wanted to celebrate their spots. One of my favorite dive bars on the planet where you make 5 of the best friends you didn't know you had. One of the guys is smoking you in billiards, but they've got a lot of personality. Like they'll act a little gruff, but are total sweethearts. La Posta is like a
Wait, what was the place you were just talking about?
Brady's Yacht Club. The only yacht club you'll only see me at. It's actually a dive bar.
Brady's Yacht Club. Okay,
Yes.
I think I know where that is. And where did you have that margarita?
Maine Kitchen and Cocktails, right on Pacific in downtown Santa Cruz.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so in Seabright by itself, you could say one of the more fun dive bars in the wider area. You could also say one of the more fun neighborhood Italian spots in La Posta Cuisine, where we had some great pizza and charred broccolini. And then one of the best breakfast spots in Linda's Sea Breeze Cafe.
Yep.
Great cinnamon rolls, corned beef hash, huge omelets. The kind of place where the servers have been there for like 25 years. And that is really meaningful, right? It's like they love it here. They've got relationships with the clientele. That's the kind of place I want to have brunch.
so true. And while you're talking about that specific area and the Murray Street Bridge, we've got Johnny's Harborside, and Eric Nelson, who we were speaking to before we came in here, said he had the most amazing filet mignon and bone marrow tacos at Johnny's Harborside. I mean, we were like, what?
Oh, yeah.
And he said it was like the best taco he's ever had in his life. So showing the area a little more love.
Gourmet, yeah. They also do like a stuffed avocado there that they put seafood and deep fry it, and it's another great setting, much like the one we were talking about, our Coast Guard Pier in Monterey.
Yeah, it's so beautiful to sit there.
All those Harborside over there, Betty's Burgers. Murray Street Bridge is going to close again, and it's not so hard to get there without the bridge, but get there now, soak up the spots, feel the sea bright love and flavor.
I thank you for giving our little local corner a bit of sugar today, Mark C. That is great. Before we continue, let's reintroduce the show. This is Edible on the Air on KSQD, community radio for all of the Monterey Bay, broadcasting on 89.5, 89.7, and 90.7 FM. You can also catch us anywhere, anytime on ksqd.org or on our marvelous app, which you can find in the App Store. I'm Christine Barrington, your hostess at the door, and the real source of all these great insights about food and beverage culture around our Bay Area is Mark C. Anderson, managing editor of Edible Monterey Bay Magazine, and we'll be back right after these announcements.
Every Saturday morning, do you sigh and think, what a week? Well, good, because every Saturday at 11 a.m., What a Week rewinds the previous 7 days, handing out a sonic antidote to all the insane headlines, and plays some music that provides the perfect soundtrack for some much-needed radiotherapy. You can't be well-informed unless you're informed well, so join me, Eric Nelson, along with the odd guest or two on What a Week, every Saturday morning at 11 a.m. on KSQD 89.5, 89.7, and 90.7 FM, and streaming live at ksqd.org.
Tune in Saturday nights for the Soul Shack radio show here on K-Squid, KSQD Santa Cruz. 2 hours of vintage soul, R&B, funk, and fun with your hosts, Charlie Lang and JT. Every Saturday, a 30-year tradition here in the Monterey Bay, only on K-Squid, 90.7 FM, Santa Cruz.
Welcome back to Edible on the Air, featuring writer and managing editor of Edible Monterey Bay Magazine, Mark C. Anderson. I'm Christine Barrington at the board here. So, Mark, this is a very special week in Santa Cruz for those who love the all-American culinary delight called the burger, right?
All right, so probably no such thing as too much pizza. Is there such thing as too much burger?
Yes, but burgers never get old. I mean, I even looked at the burger at the Caledonian, which all the servers raved about. So,
interesting.
So burgers are always good in my book. What should we love about Burger Week?
34 different restaurants participating this time.
So you
which
can eat
according to
a burger a day.
Yeah. So
oh no, it's only Burger Week, huh? It really should
goes
be
through
Burger
March.
Month.
It goes through March 8th, so okay. February 24th through March 8th. It's more like 2 weeks. Yeah, you need to be putting down some serious cholesterol. But Good Time Santa Cruz helps put it together. The editor told me that's a record amount of restaurants. There's a couple interesting things to note. Some restaurants take it as an opportunity to while out and do like a crazy triple smash burger with, deep fried onion, who knows. Some do their classics. Like I went to Gabriella Cafe on Wednesday and just had a super simple grass-fed patty with Swank Farms butterleaf and tomato. It was like, okay, maybe simple is the best because that was an excellent burger. So you'll get the classics, you get the creative, but now there's more non-beef options than ever.
Nice.
And that's
actually
featured.
Very important in Santa Cruz.
Yeah, and so that was cool to see. But there's a lot of different ways to play it. And I look at a disproportionate amount of food porn than most people. Is that going to get us in trouble with the FCC?
Nope. That word is allowed.
But I was still rocked by the selection and photos of some of these offerings. I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even think I can plan enough to get like 6 or 7 of these. So at least I got one under my belt, literally.
It's a good thing you ride a bike everywhere.
Yes, I did ride a bike to the studio today.
So besides Cafe Gabriella, what would maybe be one other one that you were like, that was so yummy?
Oh, it feels unfair to single out some folks.
Okay.
So some of the surprises is like places you definitely don't consider like burger centric or burger forward spots, like Hook and Lines Burger. I was like, what? They have a burger? Sustainable seafood spot? And it looked incredible.
Is it a fish burger?
I think they got both. And a lot of places, most places have multiple offerings.
Man, I refuse to eat at McDonald's, but I really, really long for a Filet-O-Fish.
Oh, man.
Good fish burger.
Well,
so good.
That was my weird kid order. I didn't like hamburgers as a kid. I would get the Filet-O-Fish after the Little League game.
I can still taste it.
The Davenport Roadhouse has a really compelling burger. The Parish is really good every year. Like they can be counted on to do a bunch. Let's see what they got. They've got a Hot Honey I'm Home half-pound Angus burger with prosciutto, melty brie, arugula, mayo, spicy hot honey. See, it's like
wow.
And that's only one of 3 with them. Back 9, Eric was telling us, quasi-legendary for one of the best burgers in town. Let's see what they're sizzling up. Cheddar bacon serrano chili pepper burger with house ground chuck mixed with the serrano. So the peppers are incorporated. Bacon crumbles. They combine the bacon crumbles, cheddar cheese, and serrano peppers into the house ground chucks. All right. I could see where that might light some people's fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then they've got other...
In more ways than one. Beautiful. So Burger Week, something to be excited about.
Yeah,
Perfect
through March
timing.
8th.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and if you really want to go ham, you like just combine your beer week with your burger week and your pizza overload and just lay down and die.
Totally. It's a good way to exit this world. And then when you go out into the stars, you can get food from Brad Briske. So how are you going to bring us home? What's for dessert, Mark?
Well, talking with Sarah and talking great craft beer, did you know that only about a 3-minute bike ride from here is a craft brewery that's in the running for best in the country according to a USA Today poll known as Woodhouse Brewing and Blending. It's got 2 modern art installations from one of its owners. It's like great art. And then it's got these exposed ceilings and 2 performance spaces and a lounge area and all these different groups that come through. And then, by the way, they got great craft beer. So they're definitely worthy of that. You know, you can vote if you want. It's not hard to find on the USA Today website. So I brought a couple of their current releases, including a really clever sour, and then a style of beer I hadn't tried before that's made with hop kefir. So hop keef. So I'm thinking of Kiefer Sutherland and the Lost Boys back at Pogonad Pizza.
Hopped up Kiefer Sutherland.
Hop keef can be used, and it creates an interesting flavor profile. So I want to taste you on both of those.
Okay. And in case you've just tuned in, you're listening to KSQD on 89.5, 89.7, and 90.7 FM. This is Edible on the Air, our once-a-month show where we taste our way through all kinds of areas across Santa Cruz County and Monterey County. And it looks like, I don't think Mark's going to promise, but so far we seem to be ending these shows with some beverages. Last time was extra special, and now let's see here.
Let's get some little cups because, and we'll start with the sour, and I'll tell you a little bit about them as we try them.
Okay, here we go. These are a beautiful color. These look special.
One of my favorite access points, because I don't get there as much as I'd like, is a tasting flight. Really good value, 5 3-ounce pours. That's what I did this time, and then these were 2 of my favorites because they both tell a story. One of 2 sours I tried. So we're looking at the red one. Mm-hmm. This is a partnership with Hallcrest Vineyard, who also does Scrumpy Cider. Mm. First pressing of their local, like Santa Cruz Mountains Pinot goes into that one. It's going to give you a nice little pleasant pucker.
Is this a beer or is this a sparkling wine?
This is a sour beer, which is one of my favorite category, really. I wish there was even more sours at SF Beer Week opening event I mentioned on the roof in San Francisco. What do you got?
That is really sour. It's good. It's like a sweet tart, but without all the sugar. It's tasty.
I love that you said it because I almost brought you one that was a little rounder and smooth, but it had a bunch more sugar. And so this one's nice and leaner, a little less guilt, a little more sensory experience. Okay.
Not going to feel guilty about the alcohol, but we will feel guilty about the sugar. Okay. I love it.
Well, they're related. One leads to the other. So it's fun to see that local collaboration and get the flavor payoff. It's called the Saint Amour Sour Beer.
I'm puckering.
And then I did want to shout out the owner, Tug Newitt, who does a lot of the art on the walls. He always knew, along with his partners, that they wanted to have a place for community, for music, for art, and they were looking for like a connective element. And they thought about coffee and ultimately settled on beer because they were able to partner with a craft brewer. And guess what? They're part of the Bay Area Brewers Guild because they know like together there can be a small brewery revolution. They're by far the smallest brewery in the finals for that USA Today Best Brewery contest. And I think it's because they've got the blending program, because they do so much with the community. They do like 600, 700 barrels. Sounds like a lot. The other finalists are doing 10 times that. So that's kind of cool. Makes me proud of old Santa Cruz.
So what's the second little beauty?
Okay, so I'm a big fan of hazies. This was one of 3 hazies I tried. I would like a sip. And this one stuck out to me because the 3 I tried were all strong. But this one's called Redacted. Because hops can perish pretty quickly, different hops growers have been experimenting with oils, with pellets. This is hop keef. Most people know keef as like the crystals you would get off your favorite marijuana plant. You can get the same kind of keef off of a hop plant and then use that to make... to help flavor. That. Yeah, I did not know that either.
I'm thinking kefir. Like
I'm thinking kefir
or Kiefer Sutherland.
Kiefer Sutherland, Lost Boys, Pogonet Pizza. So what are you getting on that one?
It's got that hoppy flavor. I like it.
It's a mid-level ABV. I think it's got impressive smoothness and
it's redacted just like the Trump Epstein files.
Okay.
Right, and you called it redacted.
Well,
right?
Yeah, and for something called redacted, it's a lot more interesting than a big scribbled out.
Way better.
And they've got a great show coming up on Saturday. They're relentless. A band was setting up while I was there, at 4 p.m. So a lot going on at Woodhouse Blending and Brewing. It would be cool to see them earn some honors from USA Today, but they're just a good spot to hang out. And it's cool to see how many government groups, community clubs are going there organically because they're getting priced out of other places. Woodhouse is like, well, come on in. You don't have a food and drink minimum? Enjoy yourself. Make progress. It's happening right here by K-Squid's own studio.
Right around the corner. Mark C. Anderson, thank you so much for joining us in the studio.
Thank you, listeners, for joining us in our edible complex.
And we will be back with more the 4th week in March.
Taste buddies unite.
Spring will be arrived. Thank you so much. Stay tuned for more great programming coming up next on KSQD.
Maximum consumption, super great performer, high powered machine.